Hello and welcome to the third episode of Across the Table, a webisode series all about food and farming in South Dakota, brought to you by Hungry for Truth, an initiative from South Dakota Soybean Research and Promotion Council that connects South Dakotans to the farmers who grow their food. I'm Melissa Johnson, owner of Oh My Cupcakes in Sioux Falls, and I'm your host for today's episode. We love tasty treats on Across the Table, so we're excited today to share some tips on how to make your favorite cupcake and buttercream recipes even better. And because we love to make that connection between food and farming, we're taking it back to the farm to meet a South Dakota dairy farmer who produces the butter that goes into these delicious cupcakes and frosting. Well, dairy farming is a major part of agriculture in South Dakota. All those dairy cows you see across South Dakota make the milk that goes into the butter, cheese, and cream that we all love. They're also behind the ingredients in the tasty cupcakes we'll be seeing later on in the show. For now, let's turn it over to local dairy farmer Annalise Sefrud, who's answering our burning questions about dairy farming in South Dakota. Annalise, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Tell me a little bit about your dairy farm and how you've made your way to South Dakota.
Well, my husband John and I own and operate North Swiss Dairy near Summit, South Dakota, about 2 hours north of Sioux Falls.
So tell me a little bit today about how you raise your cows and work with them responsibly to ensure you've got happy, healthy cows.
Well, today we're milking right at 1,000 animals. Our barns have capacity for 1,200, so there is plenty of extra space. There are stalls or beds in the barn for each cow to go lay in. She can choose the same stall each day, or she can go choose a different bed every time she wants to lay down.
Annalise, there's been some talk and some concern about hormones in milk. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I have gotten this question many times, and in fact I've gotten it from family members myself, that all foods have naturally occurring hormones in them.
Interesting.
It's in everything that we eat. In fact, the head of cabbage that you would chop up and make coleslaw out of has more hormones in it than the glass of milk that you drink with your meal.
Really?
Right.
At Oh My Cupcakes, we source our products locally whenever possible. Tell me, when the milk that you milk from your cows leaves your farm, where does it go?
Well, we produce about 3 tanker loads of milk every 2 days.
My goodness.
1 tanker load is 6,000 gallons.
Wow,
so
that's a lot of milk.
That's a lot of milk. So each of those trucks you see driving down the road is between 6,000 and 8,000 gallons of milk. One of our cows a day will produce between 8 and 9 gallons.
Okay.
So what a family of growing boys might go through in 1 to 2 weeks is what one of our cows will do in a day.
Sure.
So after the truck comes, like I said, we got into the dairy industry because of the connection with Valley Queen Cheese Factory. So our milk does go down the hill to Millbank.
That makes sense.
And is made into cheese in Millbank. And in fact, if you eat a low-fat or reduced-fat cheddar or Colby with a Kraft label on it, chances are you're eating cheese that started with my cows.
That started with your cows.
Started with my cows.
That's great to know. Well, thank you so much for visiting with me today and for educating me, and I'm sure our viewers as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, as promised, we turn to my favorite meal of the day, dessert. I'm going to share with you how you can take your favorite dairy products, implement some new techniques, and make your standard cupcakes even better than ever. These tips will bring your cupcake game to the next level. Joining me, Annalise in the Magical Cupcake Kitchen. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for letting me come in and see all your secrets.
Well, I'm excited that you're here and that we get to talk about baking and dessert.
Right. I'm a cook, not a baker, so I'm excited to learn how to make my cupcakes better when I cook for my children.
You can use a box mix, you can use any recipe you find. I promise you, you can be a baker.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so what do you want to know today?
Well, first of all, buttercream.
Okay.
Can I make it with margarine?
Can you make it with margarine? Oh, sister. No.
I've had that question from friends. It's not my question. I've had it from friends who've asked.
Sure. I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, I'm asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. No, I'm sorry. You cannot use margarine in a buttercream if you want it to taste good. No, a buttercream has got to be a really great, high-quality butter. In fact, the higher the fat content, even better is your buttercream going to be.
Okay, then the other question I have, and this one really is my question. In the grocery store, I see both salted and unsalted butter. Which one is better for using in baking?
For baking, sure. Well, actually you can use either. In a buttercream, we prefer unsalted butter, and in fact, at Oh My Cupcakes, we use unsalted butter in everything that we bake, and simply it's because you can control the amount of salt that you use in your recipe. So it's very simple. I wanted to share with you some decorating tips today and tell you how, again, you can be a baker. You can do it.
I can bake.
You can. You can find any buttercream recipe that you find. There are so many great recipes out there, and take a simple vanilla bean buttercream recipe.
Okay.
Any kind you've got, and you can add simple food coloring. You can add, I've got a teal here, I've got this one that's going to be a nice coral color. Add a couple drops in, couple drops here of this teal color, and I'm going to mix it around. Put it in a frosting bag.
Okay, now I have problems with frosting bags. I seem to either cut it and the tip falls out the bottom most of the time, and I end up having to go get another bag. Do you have a tip for cutting the tip of the bag?
A tip on the tips. All right, absolutely, I sure do. So what you want to do is put your tip in the frosting bag, move it kind of down to the bottom, and then you're going to cut it, just like so. So you're going to cut it, or you're going to bring it almost to the bottom. And I'm going to cut a little bit more here.
Okay.
Because what you want to make sure of is that all of your prongs are showing. So about halfway you can see on this bag that the tip is about halfway showing here. And then the biggest question that I always get is, how do you get the frosting in the bag without it getting everywhere?
You mean I'm not supposed to have it all over my hands and counter and face when I do this?
It does sometimes happen. It's a common question. It's very simple. Fold the bag down.
Okay.
Fold it over like this, down over your hand. And then we can take this frosting we've got over here, this nice teal we made, and I'm going to scoop it up. So we've got our frosting in our bag. Now we're going to carefully bring that bag up, fold it over, and then we want to give it a little twist.
Okay.
My home ec teacher always said you wring its little neck, okay? So we're going to give it a little twist. And now we've given it a little twist, and I'm going to start on this cupcake right here at 9 o'clock. I think of it like a clock face. Now I'm left-handed, so I start at 9 o'clock. I go around the clock face, bring it into the middle, give it a little stamp, and pull up. And as you pull up, you want to kind of stop squeezing, if that makes sense. All right? Would you like to try one?
Right. Okay, so now I'm right-handed, so I still start at 9 o'clock, or do I start at 3 o'clock?
You could start at 3 if you like.
Okay, let's see if I can start at 3 o'clock.
We'll see what time of day works for you.
Okay, so around, back to 3, middle,
give it a stamp,
and
pull up. It's beautiful. I made a cupcake. You did a great job. You did a great job. Should we give it some sprinkles?
Yes, everybody loves sprinkles.
All right,
I want the yellow.
I'm going to do pink.
But since it's such a lovely spring day, I like yellow on my cupcakes.
I'm going to do a little pink. They're gorgeous. You too can be a baker. Thanks for joining us today. Get more recipes at hungryfortruthsd.com. Now it's time for our Ask a Farmer feature. For this episode's questions, we visited Hy-Vee at 49th and Louise in Sioux Falls to find out what's on South Dakotans' minds about food and farming. To help us out, farmer Annalise Sefrud from Summit will share her perspectives on dairy farming.
Our cows that are grazing in pasture in better health and produce better quality milk products than cows that are raised in a dairy barn.
Well, I don't know about you, but if I was a cow in January, I would prefer to be inside a barn than outside in the cold. And so South Dakota, most dairies use barns to house their cattle. It protects them from the sub-zero weather in the winter, and in the summer, they have access to cooling fans and sprinklers to keep them cool and happy when it's 100 degrees outside, so we protect against the two extremes.
If you have a question for a farmer or simply want to know more, visit hungryfortruthsd.com. Be sure to follow us on social media. We hope you enjoyed this tasty treat edition of Across the Table. Join us next time, where I'll be back with a new episode featuring a healthy alternative for summer dinners on the grill. And we'll hear the latest about food labels from a dietitian who also happens to be a local farmer. For Across the Table, I'm Melissa Johnson. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.